Alright, so this is me going over the test review for chapter 4. I'm just going to jump straight into it. I'm just going to work through these problems talking out loud. If you don't understand anything that's going on, I would suggest you... It also says chapter 4. It's supposed to say chapter 2. That's my bad. So just ignore this. This is chapter 2. I'm just going to walk through all these problems. If there's anything that's confusing, I would recommend you just watch a previous lesson on that to go back over it, because there isn't going to really be any teaching here. This is just going over the problems, the process, how to do them, what the answers are. I will warn you in advance, I forgot to bring the answer key home, so if I get any of these wrong, I'm going to try to double check all of them before the end of the video at least, but there's a chance some of these might be wrong. Hopefully they're not, but let's just work through it and see what happens, find out. So, chapter 2 is all about inequalities. So all of these are only inequalities and graphing them. So let's start with this first one. I'm just going to rewrite it down here because I know I'm going to need to do some work. Add 17 to both sides to have x on its own. So x is less than... I always give you guys a calculator. I don't give myself a calculator because I don't think I need one, so it's just going to take me a little bit. Hold on. 515? Right? Negative 15. I don't have my answer key, so I can't even double check myself. Yeah, negative 15. So, because negative 15, graph starts at negative 15, which is right here. It's in between negative 16 and negative 14. It's going to be a closed circle because it can be equal to, and it is less than negative 15. So it goes that way. Second one, a divided by 10 is less than negative 5. Multiply both sides by 10 to get rid of that 10. A is less than negative 50. Where's negative 50? It's right here. So it's going to be an open circle because it can't be equal to negative 50, and it's less than. It's this way. And even if there's not a lot of work, if you're nice to me, you'll box your answers, so it can be easy for me to find out where your answer is. Third one, 5 is greater than or equal to 5 plus x over 2. Multiply both sides by 2. 10 greater than or equal to 5 plus x. Subtract 5 from both sides. 5 is greater than or equal to x, or x is less than or equal to 5. 5 is right here, closed circle, because it can be equal to less than 5. N over 10 minus 3 greater than or equal to negative 2. Add 3 both sides, so we have n over 10 less than or equal to 1. Multiply by 10 to get rid of the divide by 10, so n is less than or equal to 10. 10 is over here, closed circle because it can be equal to less than 10, so this way. 5. Technically 2 different ways to do this. One way, distribution, which is the safer way. So if we distribute straight from here, we have 3x minus 12 is greater than 6. If we just solve this, add 12 to both sides, 3x is greater than 18. Divide by 3, x is greater than 9. The other way is just dividing both sides by 3. So we go from there, x minus 4 is greater than 2. Add 4 to both sides. X is greater than 6. What did I do wrong here? I did something wrong somewhere. Oh. 18 divided by 3 is not 9. It is 6. So, this would be my final answer. And graphing it, we're at 6. Open circle, not equal to, greater than 6. That way. This one, 4 plus 5k is less than 24. Subtract 4 from both sides. Addition, subtraction first. 5k is less than 20. divide by 5 because it's being multiplied by 5. K is less than 4. 4, open circle, less than this way. Now over here, oh my god, we have n. N is on both sides. Pick a side for n to be on. You could do either side. I'm going to choose the side that makes it easiest for me in the future, which is keeping n positive, which is going to be subtracting n from both sides. Three minus 3n minus n is the same thing as if you had an invisible 1 here. So 3 minus 1 is 2n plus 9 less than or equal to 5. Solve like normal. 2n is less than or equal to negative 4. Divide by 2. N is less than or equal to negative 2. If you wanted to see how it looks the other way, of subtracting 3n from both sides instead of just n, still possible, just now you deal with negative n. Same thing as if there's an invisible 1, so 1 minus 3 is negative 2n plus 5 minus 5. So we have 4 is less than or equal to negative 2n, divide by negative 2. Because we're dividing by a negative, the sign flips. We have negative 2 is greater than or equal to n. Same thing flipped around. N is less than or equal to negative 2. So we have negative 2 here. Filled in because it can be equal to everything less than. Same thing for the next one. You could pick a side, but no matter what side you choose, you might notice that you'll be subtracting 3m no matter what. And anything subtracted by itself is 0. 5 minus 5 is 0. So those just disappear completely. So what's left over? Negative 5 is greater than or equal to negative 5. If you remember, when you don't have variables, is what is left over true? In this case, it is. Negative 5 is greater than or equal to negative 5. So this one is true, which means the solution, here's the graph, is all real numbers. And remembering for the flip side, if it's not true, it's no solution. Like if it was negative 5 is only greater than negative 5, that's not true. No solution. And therefore no graph either, because the graph only represents all the numbers that can be the solution. So just remembering those special cases, keep that in mind. Actually, I want to erase that. Just the blue is the answer, the black is not. Now, compound inequality, lesson 2.5, the first lesson that you learned after winter break. Same thing as usual. Let's see, that was blue, so let's do pink next. The ands will either say and, or it will have two inequality symbols like this. So, how do we solve this? Split into the compound inequality and then solve and graph. Same process as we've learned before. Here are our two inequalities. So our compound inequality is negative 15 is less than 5b, and 5b is less than 20. Solve. Negative 3 is less than b, and b is less than 4. I'm going to combine it into 1. We have 4 over here, negative 3 over here. Symbols accordingly. Either one is the answer. You could do both, so long as I have one of them. If we graph it, we have 1 at negative 4, or 1 at 4, 1 at negative 3. Let's double check that they overlap. So we have less than 4, greater than negative 3. So yep, they overlap in the center right there. If you remember from the lesson, there is an even faster way to do this if you wanted to. If you have negative 15 less than 5b less than 20, you could just, let's do some blue, divide everything by 5. So long as you remember you're dividing everything. Not only, because whenever I say do the same thing to both sides, it's both sides of the symbol. You're dividing negative 5 here, so you You have to do it to the other side of this symbol, and you have to do it to the other side of this symbol. And that's a very fast way to get the same answer. I would accept this as the work, as long as you actually show me your work. But this way is the way I taught you. Still get the same answer. Now for this other one, pink, so let's go green. We have an or, so we already have our compound inequality. Solve like normal. A is greater than 5, or A is less than -4. So there's our answer right there. So we have one graph at 5. 5 is between 4 and 6. Open circle at 5. Greater than 5, so it goes this way, and -4 is right here. So less than -4 this way. Next one, another and. So let's split this up to these two. -7 is greater than 1 minus 2x, and 1 minus 2x is greater than -9. Solve -8 greater than -2x. Divide by -2, because we're dividing by negative, the sign flips. Over here, -1, -2x is greater than -10. Divide by -2, sign flips. If you want to write it as one statement, it looks like this. So there's our answer. So we have 1 point at 4, 1 point at 5. Let's double check that they are overlapping. Less than 5 is this way. Greater than 4 is this way. So you do overlap across each other. If you want to solve this the same way as I did right here, I'll just do that real quick. Do it kind of small so I have enough room for the next problem. -7, 1 minus 2x, -9. So I'll do a real small right here. Subtracting 1 from all sides. So we have -8, -2x, -10. Divide that by -2, divide that by -2, divide that by -2. So we have 4. Sign flips. Sign flips. 5. And that's the same exact thing as what we got. So now next one. We have our or, already compound inequality. Solve. Add 2 to both sides. X is greater than or equal to 24, divide by 4, x is greater than or equal to 6, or the other inequality, 2x plus 1, less than 3, minus 1, 2x is less than 2, x is less than 1. So there is our answer. We have closed circle at 6, and it is greater than 6. We have open circle at 1, and it is less than 1. They don't overlap, so we are good. Now we have some absolute value inequalities. If you remember our 3 steps, and or, if there can be a solution, and if the absolute value is isolated. Compound inequality, solve, and graph. So we have absolute value of 6 plus m is less than 9. This is the part where you do kind of have to memorize, does less than equal and, or does it equal or? Less than, absolute value, it's on one side, so we're good to figure it out from there. It's not less than 0, so we're good, it's not less than a negative number, and less than means it is an or, an and. So we have our 2 inequalities, 6 plus m is less than 9, and 6 plus m is greater than -9. Solve and graph. So we have m is less than 3 and m is greater than 15. So let's double check that they overlap. So if we have 3 here, we have some missing tick marks. So we can figure out the halfway point between 0 and 4 is 2, which means here would be 3. So we have open circle if you want to make sure that I know that you're writing in the right spot, you can even write down 3. Or because of my lazy way, you don't have to be exact. You could just say this is 3 as long as you label it like that. It's not evenly spaced if that was 3, but I'll accept it so long as you clarify. If you don't clarify, if you just leave it like this and you have the circle right here, I'm going to assume that means you know that means 2, and therefore it's wrong. So if you're not going to label, make sure it's correct. So we have 3, which is right here. Less than 3 is this way. And we have negative 15, same ordeal. This is negative 14, because that's halfway between negative 16 and negative 12. So negative 15 is right here. Open circle. Greater than is this way. So they do overlap each other. Where do they overlap? Right here. Answer is right there. Whoops, why did that disappear? Next one. Another one. Oh, excuse me. Absolute value is alone. Yes. Is it? Can there be a solution? Absolute value is less than or equal to negative 3. It's less than or equal to a negative number. It can never be positive. Distance has to be positive. That makes this no solution. No graph, because there's no solution. I am going to have those special cases. You might get one that has no solution. You might get one that has all real numbers. Just gotta remember. Now, what about this one? Absolute values alone. Yes, there is a solution. There are positive numbers that are less than 14, so we're good. So let's split this into our compound inequality. Absolute value is less than, so it's an and. 4m plus 6 is less than or equal to 14, and 4m plus 6 is greater than or equal to negative 14. Solve. I'm just doing these both at the same time because why not? We have 8 over here, and we have negative 20 over here. So m is less than or equal to 2, and m is greater than or equal to negative 5. Whoops. Here's our answer right there. So we have at 2, closed circle. Let's double check they overlap because this is an and. So it's less than negative 2, so it's that way. Negative 5, closed circle, greater than negative 5, so it's that way. So you do overlap. And where do they overlap? Right in the center here. That's a messy line. Now this last one is the and or. We can't figure that out yet because we need to isolate the absolute value. So let's do that first. I'm going to be subtracting 3 from both sides. So we have 4 absolute value negative x minus 2 is greater than 46. I'm going to do both ways again. I'm actually going to zoom in real close on this so I can have more room. I'm going to do both ways again. One of them is distributing. So I'm going to do it over here. Absolute value of negative 4x minus 8 is greater than 46. Or the other way, which is just dividing by... I can't divide by 4, actually. Wait, that's supposed to be a minus 3. I don't know why I said that was... I thought that was minus 5 for some reason. So minus 3 is actually 48. So it is divisible by 4. So you have over here, absolute value of negative x minus 2 is greater than 12. And over here is 48. So if we solve it this way, I'll go even smaller. Solve it this way, the absolute value is alone. There is a solution. It's going to be a positive number. Positive number is greater than 48. And because it's bigger than, it's going to be an or. So I'm just going to write negative 4x minus 8 is greater than 48, or negative 4x minus 8 is less than negative 48. Solve. Negative 4x is greater than 56. Negative 4x is less than negative 40. Divide by negative 4. Because we are dividing by a negative, the sign flips. That's not a flip sign. Sign flips. Sign flips. X. 56 divided by negative 4. I know that goes in evenly. We have negative at the very least. You would probably do this in a calculator. I'm not going to let myself use a calculator. I can do this. I know I can. If we have 1 to fit one's over here. I'm stupid. 14. There you go. I didn't even need one. I told you. I had this. What do you mean? 10. So, or, so that's that way. Other way. Greater than, so it's still an or. Negative x minus 2 is greater than 12, or negative x minus 2 is less than negative 12. Solve. Negative x is greater than 14. Negative x is less than negative 10. Divide both sides by negative 1 to get in positive x. Because we're dividing by a negative, the sign flips. So you have negative 14 over here, or x is greater than 10. And wow, oh my god, would you look at that? They're the same answers, right? Right. So if we graph this, negative 14 is right here. So we have open circle here at negative 14, and it's or, so we don't have to worry about them overlapping, but let's just double check if they do, because that changes our final answer. Greater than 10, which is right here. 10 is in between 8 and 12. Open circle over there. Negative 14, it is less than. 10, it is greater than. So there's our graph, there's our answer. I wrote that a lot smaller than I needed to. So let's just make this a little bit bigger. Move it over. Let's make this a little bit bigger. There we go. So, quickly run through all of the answers, if that's what you're here for anyway. I guess this is my way of double checking. I guess I really know how to double check this. If there's something wrong, you let me know and you yell at me. But I think all of these are good. So, number 1, x is less than or equal to negative 15, and there's the graph. Number 2, a is less than negative 50, and there's the graph. Number 3, x is less than or equal to 5, there's the graph. 4, n is less than or equal to 10, there's the graph. 5, x is greater than 6, and there's the graph. 6, k is less than 4, and there's the graph. 7, n is less than or equal to negative 2, and there's the graph. 8, all real numbers, which does have a graph. 9, it's either, I guess this is also an alternative if you had it like this instead. That's also a thing. So negative 3 is less than b, and b is less than 4. Or b is greater than negative 3, and b is less than 4. Or negative 3 is less than b, which is less than 4. And there's the graph. 10, a is greater than 5, or a is less than negative 4, and there's the graph. 11, 4 is less than x, and x is less than 5, or x is greater than 4 and x is less than 5, or 4 is less than x, which is less than 5, and there's the graph. 12, x is greater than 6, or x is less than 1, and there's the graph. 13, m is less than 3, and m is greater than negative 15, and there's the graph. 14, no solution, and there's the graph, but the graph is that there is no graph. So if you do have a graph for no solution, you will get points off. 15, m is less than or equal to 2, and m is greater than or equal to negative 5. There's the graph. And 16, kind of hard to see, but I'll just at least make the answer part bigger. X is less than negative 14, or X is greater than 10. And there's the graph. So, like I said, I did not bring the answer key home with me, so if I got any of these wrong, sorry. I think I caught all my mistakes. If I do notice that there is something wrong, I will say it on as many things as I can. On the Canvas page, I'll say it right below the video. On YouTube, I'll say it as a comment in the description, wherever I can. There are no annotations on YouTube videos anymore, unfortunately, and I don't think I will take the time to just completely re-record this and edit in the actual answer or something. Either way, I'll put it up wherever I can that isn't just completely creating a new video if there's something wrong. Otherwise, that's it. That's all of them. If you have any questions, as per usual, if I have you still, then, if I have you, you can ask me next time you see me. If you have my email, you can email me. You can leave a comment for a question, and I will try to answer. Otherwise, I will see you later. Good luck on the test.